May 12th, 2016. From El Cajon, California, this is episode 99 of You Can Bet on That. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can Bet on That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. My name is Mark Duvall, and sitting across from me is Dr. Mike.
Hello.
Well, did you enjoy the Kentucky Derby there, Mike?
Very exciting. I watched the Kentucky Derby from a craps table.
That's perfect. That is perfect.
The TV was right in front of me. I was rolling the dice, and we stopped to watch the race.
Oh, that's great.
Everyone was fine stopping.
I was not with you. I was just at home watching the race. So remember on our last episode, Dr. Mike said, we need to bet on the horse that has the most yellow. Right? That's what you said. That's just smart wagering.
Yeah, well, it's easy to see. I like to be able to see the horse I bet on.
Right. So once the field was announced, we determined that Dancing Candy had the most yellow.
I like the name, too.
Yeah, it's a great name.
I was happy with the name.
Yeah.
You know, I thought, I'd bet on that horse anyway.
And it got the 20th position out of 20, so it was way on the outside there.
Nobody to bother it. All out there by itself.
Yep.
It's like playing right field.
Yeah. So what I did, I went up to Verona, a local casino here where they have off-track betting, and I made bets for all friends and family, not just us, but, my family had some bets and what have you there. And you took Dancing Candy across the board, right?
Across the board, I thought, maybe, there's a chance it might come in third. It's not that bad a horse.
No. In fact, there were some, I think maybe even the New York Times had said that was like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I heard a handicapper, and I can't remember who it was, say, is the guy for the San Diego Union Tribune. He said that's his dark horse. It could, come in the money somewhere.
And I think he's a local, California horse. I think he's from California.
Right.
So anyway, he opened at 15-1, and I want to say he closed it around 26-1 when I was watching the, the TV. Anyway, he got off to the lead like everybody said he would. He kind of, set the pace. He finished 15th.
Pace horse.
About 19 3/4 lengths behind the winner, Nyquist.
So it was close.
So it was close. So it's funny because of all the bets that I made, I was the only one who won anything.
Because
My family,
bet Nyquist.
Yeah, I bet Nyquist.
Yeah.
Well, what I did was I set up these speed charts in a spreadsheet, and I went in and I, cross-referenced that against the racing form and passed. No, I just bet on the favorite.
Yeah, I know you just bet on the favorite.
So anyway,
as you're saying that, I'm starting to think, I know he didn't do that.
So it paid $6.60 to win. I bet it to win for $20. So $66 coming my way next time we go out there. Yeah. So next race is the Preakness on Saturday, May 21st. Maybe I'll go back out there again, cash out my winnings.
Bet on Nyquist again.
Or whatever. I'll see if anybody
might as well
make some more bets for, what do you think for the Preakness? Still yellow?
Well, we'll see who the yellow horse is.
Okay. We'll have to see.
My wife bet on... Exaggerator.
Yeah, to win.
And I like that name too.
Yeah.
And what, it came in second?
Came in second to Nyquist, which is like a trend for him, yeah.
Right, and she bet him to win.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Oh, well.
Should have taken him across the board, actually. That probably wouldn't have been a bad bet. I don't know what it paid.
Yeah, it was, it was a decent payout. It was, the horses basically came in 1, 2, 3, 4, the way that the odds were.
Right.
It was a very predictable race.
Right.
So, the Exacta and the Superfecta and everything, they paid okay, but not huge amounts by any means. No. Well, speaking of horse racing, on the last episode, we talked about how exchange wagering is coming to New Jersey. Again, that's where you can wager on horses just kind of amongst yourselves. The public can bet amongst themselves through these sites without going through the parimutuel system of the horse tracks. So anyway, we got an email from listener Dave in the UK. Yeah, we were kind of speculating about how the VIG might change depending on, races, that kind of thing. He was able to confirm that the VIG can change depending on how much you wager.
Right.
So
the more you wager,
maybe the VIG goes down.
Lower VIG.
Mm-hmm. Right. And one thing he warned us about, he said to beware of owners laying their own horses. Now, what he means by that is, let's say there's a player who actually owns a horse who's going to be in a race.
Right.
And he goes on to one of these exchange wagering sites and says, okay, I'm offering 5-1 that this horse will win.
Right.
So now you go to the site, you don't know that this is being offered by the owner of the horse.
Right. You don't know he's the owner.
Right. And you're thinking 5-1. Wow, I put him at like 2-1. This is a great deal. I'm going to take this bet.
Right. And you're going to probably bet a little more because you're thinking you're getting these great odds.
Meanwhile, now the owner tells the jockey, hold the horse back.
Yeah.
Right.
Just don't whip him a little or whatever.
And we're not going to win this race. Now, I don't know how much corruption there is in the horse racing industry. I really don't know.
A lot.
Okay. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it is something to be aware of. Now, how do you know? Okay, you got to be aware of an owner laying their horse. Well, how do you know? Well, I don't know. That's a good question. You would hope that the betting site tries to take that into account, does some due diligence, but is it worth it to them?
Yeah, and how can they do that? Let's say you own the horse, right? Mm-hmm. Well, you can't call up and say, this is, Mark, and I want to, do this, but you can tell me.
Right, I could have somebody else do it, and how would they know?
Your son do it, right? And how would they know that the money's going to you? There's no way to police that, and I think that would be a big problem.
Well, anytime you're talking about big sums of money, people are going to try to find a way to cheat you out of it or whatever. So it's something you just do have to be aware of. We don't have any suggestions on the best way to do that, but it's something you need to be aware of.
Probably the best adage would be, if it seems too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true.
That's right. If somebody's offering odds, it's like, why would you offer odds like that?
Right.
But maybe it's not that obvious. A 5-to-1 versus a 2-to-1. Maybe it's 3-to-1, or
maybe there's just a line that you can't cross. Where if it's 2-to-1, you say I'll give you 10-to-1. Kind of brings up a red flag. But 5-to-1, maybe you're thinking the guy's just a little goofy.
Yeah,
or something.
Who knows? Maybe after you've made a few of these wagers, you get to know some of the people who are on these sites, and maybe you can trust them. And maybe it's like some new person's like, well, I don't know this guy. I'm not. Maybe I'll bet a couple bucks.
Yeah.
Just to see how it goes, and then maybe wager more.
This might be a good thing for small wagers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
People who are just going to bet $10 or something, and it doesn't really matter if, they get ripped off.
Right.
But I don't know if I'd be putting in large sums of money.
Yeah. Well, again, I'm really looking forward to seeing how this plays out. I don't think it's going to be a huge deal, but I think the concept is huge, and we'll see where it goes.
When we start ours, but it's based on craps, and people just call us.
They just call
say,
in.
What's the point?
We're periscoping. Did you see that roll?
Yeah. It's always the same. Oh, sorry, immediate out.
That's right. Wait, this looks exactly like the game from last night. We're just replaying a tape.
Right.
Hey, thanks to everyone who's been clicking through our Amazon link. Remember, when you're going to buy something through Amazon, go to our page first, youcanbetonthat.com, and click through our Amazon link at the top of the page. That way, when you make a purchase, we get a little kickback that helps cover costs of hosting the show, and it doesn't cost you a thing. You'll pay the same price just like normal. So in the past, we have complained about inconsistent ratings at table games.
And it's terrible.
I don't want to just keep harping on this, but an example came up recently that really kind of shows us how bad it can be.
Yeah, and it was so bad that it just stuck in our craw, basically.
Right.
So, we don't want to beat a dead horse, but we just got to mention this.
Yeah, so it actually happened to me. So again, Mike and I go out to the casino pretty much every Friday night. Correct. We go out there. And we play the same. I play the same as I always do. You play the same as you always do.
The exact same, right. And a lot of times even the same amount of time.
Right.
We're there. We get there about generally the same time. Mm-hmm. We quit about generally the same time.
Right.
The time's the same. The money's the same. Mm-hmm. There's nothing different.
Yeah. And especially, I think you'd agree, especially the way I bet. I'm way more disciplined. So,
very much.
Whereas you might vary a little bit how you play. Right. I really stick to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, we went out there, and I always check to see the next day how many tier credits we got. So a couple of weeks ago, we went out, and I earned, for playing, 5 hours craps the way that I normally do. It might have been a $15 table.
It was a $15 table.
I earned 1,734 tier credits, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
That's actually, very good.
Yeah,
so,
it's not bad.
We go the following week. Again, same amount of time that we're out there. Again, a $15 table.
Right.
I'm playing the same way. 265 tier credits.
It's like
1,734 versus 265 for the same amount of play.
Different.
It's like 6 times difference.
It's almost like they clocked you out after the first hour.
Mistakenly. Maybe there was some kind of mistake.
He left, and then you just never clocked you back in, which we did. We didn't leave. We never leave the table.
No. Now, the thing is, we go there so often that I don't think it's worth my while to try to get this.
No, and what would they do? What could they do?
Yeah, the thing is, what do we get treated by them pretty well anyway, and we're out there all the time. And, am I going to complain constantly like every other week? Once again, you need to look. I didn't get a good rating.
We certainly don't have anything to really complain about. We're treated extremely well.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
Extremely well. And they're very nice people. It could just be an error.
It could be an error.
But it's just odd that it happened.
This was just the most blatant that we've seen, but there's still been inconsistencies from week to week. So again, table game play, this is always going to be a problem until they can really quantify it.
It's nice with slots that it's so accurate.
Yeah, right. Slots, video poker, you put your card in, it's extremely accurate. Yeah.
Right, and it's just so bad that it's so inaccurate at table games.
Yeah, I know.
And it really does vary between who's in the pit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a big part of it.
Because we've kind of kept track of that, and certain people will give us way better rating than other people, and we're playing the same way.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, dead horse. Let's go to our voicemail hotline. Don't forget, call our voicemail hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 9512-WAGERS.
9512-WAGERS.
And maybe we'll play your clip on the show. So something happened here recently in the sports world that was a pretty big deal. And I think a lot of people in America don't have a sense of how huge this was, simply because soccer is not real big here.
Yeah, unless you're a soccer fan, which some patients of mine who are big soccer fans, I mentioned it to them. They knew right away. They were very excited about it.
Yeah. Well, let's listen to this call from Ian.
Hi, Mark, Dr. Mike. My name's Ian Dunk. I'm calling from a city called Leicester in England. I've telephoned you earlier this year. I'm calling because of a sports bet that's taken over publicity here. Leicester City have just won the English Premier League, which is an almost impossible situation to happen, especially for a team I've watched for 38 years, both home and away, and to win the Premier League is just impossible. So impossible, the odds were 5,000 to 1 at the start of the season. And apparently that is the biggest odds in world betting ever on a single sporting event. And the sports bookies, the bookmakers here in the UK, are standing to lose some £50 million on bets that were made. The odds are so high, they were even higher than finding Elvis alive. That's how ridiculous they were. The highest odds I can find in American history, it was 999 to 1, which was the St. Louis Cardinals in baseball in 2011 when I believe they won the World Series. And there was a 300 to 1 Super Bowl bet in 1999 with the St. Louis Rams, who went on to win. The highest odds ever in any UK horse race has never been higher than 250 to 1. So to get 5,000 to 1 on an event happening, and it's simply because English Premier League football is so dominated by money, and Leicester City had spent so little money, and yet they have gone on to win the championship. Absolutely incredible, and the whole city here is buzzing like something I've never seen in my life. And there's a final parting shot. A friend of mine had £20 on Leicester at 5,000 to 1, a crazy bet, and he's just taken home £100,000 tax-free. I hope he buys me a pint. Cheerio.
Yeah, this...
He ought to buy you a whole keg.
This was so improbable. This really is the biggest upset in sports history, certainly in this century.
Right.
And just incredible. 5,000 to 1. And I love that his friend's getting £100,000 tax free, right? They don't tax gambling winnings.
It's almost
in
$200,000.
Yeah,
American
right. I think it's like
dollars.
about 170,000, something
right,
like that. But yeah, I mean, just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, he made a good point. See, the English Premier League, it's all about money. So the cities that spend a ton of money get all the best players.
Yeah, sure.
So for a team that doesn't have, say, quote, the best players to win, it's amazing.
Yeah. I wonder if this is going to kind of change the way bookmakers set odds, because 5,000 to 1, I'm guessing that they're going to now put a cap on how much an impossibility is.
Right.
You know,
they just might make, no matter how crazy it is, just make it 1,000 to 1.
Right. So we'll see.
999 to 1. Never go over that 1,000.
Yes, never go over no matter what. Exactly.
Because they could take a bath. What if some guy's just a real, he doesn't put 20 pounds down, he puts 100 pounds down. Because he's right. He's just, he's a big fan. That's his team.
That's his team, right? I mean, we've all made bets like that.
Well, you think about it.
I know the Chargers aren't going to win the Super Bowl, but I'll put $20 down.
Yeah, 100 pounds, 170 American dollars.
Yeah,
you could see yourself doing that.
Well, yeah, just, because it's your favorite team.
Oh, you're in Vegas and you're up. You had a good night at the craps table. I'm going to go put $200 on, the Padres to win the World Series.
Yeah.
It's stupid because that's never going to happen.
No, of course not. Yeah, that's a really stupid bet. 5,000 to 1. Give me a break.
Right.
One thing I like to, Ian referred to St. Louis.
Yeah.
You know, most people here call it St. Louis, but when I hear St. Louis, it reminds me of this old Bugs Bunny cartoon where he's at odds with Yosemite Sam over something, right? You know, they're battling it out like they usually do. So they're inside this house, and Yosemite Sam sets up this cannon outside of the front door, and hooks it up to the doorknob, right?
So when he opens the door, the cannon's going to shoot.
That's the idea, right? So they're both inside this house, and Yosemite Sam's like, let's call a truce, varmint. Let's be friends. Right. And so Yosemite Sam then beats on the floor with his foot where Bugs Bunny can't see to make it seem like somebody's knocking at the door.
Right.
Says, hey, varmint, somebody's at the door. And so Bugs Bunny leaves the room to go answer the door. The camera stays with Yosemite Sam, right? And off screen, Bugs Bunny goes to the door, and then Bugs Bunny comes back in and says, "Oh, hey, Doc, it's for you. She said to mention St. Louis." St. Louis? Emma! And so then Yosemite Sam goes running off screen. You hear the door open and the cannon go off. Right? And then Yosemite Sam comes back in. Same old Emma. That's what I think. Whenever I hear St. Louis, that's what it makes me think of.
I think St. Louis was kind of the antiquated St. Louis, right?
Yeah, right. It's like the Old West.
It's the Old West.
Oh, we're heading to St. Louis. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. All right, let's hear from Walter.
Hey, guys. My name's Walter. I'm from Aloha, Oregon. Love listening to your podcast. I was going to call and sing the praises of gambling in Reno being at such a great value and everything, whereas Vegas is kind of losing its value to us recreational guys. But I can't do that because Reno is really starting to lose its value too. I went down there for a jazz festival, and by the way, if you want to go for a great jazz festival, it doesn't seem like it would be in Reno, but it is. Always in April. So anyway, I went down there for a jazz festival and stayed at Circus Circus. I had a nice clean room, and my host always treats me well there. I'm a video poker player. I like to play craps as well, but video poker's my game. Went down to the casino, and every single machine had been downgraded to the point where the best game was 8-5 jacks or better, and it went down from there. So this all stems from the El Dorado buying Silver Legacy and Circus Circus as well. And I just wanted to let you guys know that Reno is no longer the value that it used to be. So as a value-conscious gambler, it's disappointing to me, and I really hope that somebody in Reno will turn this around and see they're chasing people away rather than drawing them in. Thanks for the great podcast, guys. I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye.
Now, did you hear where Walter was from? He's from Aloha, Oregon.
Aloha?
No, it's pronounced Aloha. It's spelled like aloha, the Hawaiian word,
right?
But it's pronounced Aloha. And
interesting.
I went to the University of Oregon for a couple of years, right? And I had a friend who lived in Aloha, and she was saying, yeah, it's spelled like aloha, but you pronounce it Aloha.
Now, who decided that?
I don't know. If you look, the origins of the town's name, it's a little obscure, so maybe it's based on the Hawaiian word, maybe it's not anyway. So, yeah. But that's too bad to hear about Reno. Yeah, you'd think that, Vegas can kind of get away with bad gambling rules, but a place like Reno, you'd think would want to get people in there. Although, I don't know, people from Northern California, I guess.
What's near Reno? I mean, you can go up to Tahoe, but they have bad rules there.
Yeah, Tahoe, Carson City, yeah. I don't know. Now, you went to school in San Francisco.
We went to Reno frequently.
You went to Reno. You wouldn't go to Tahoe? Was it?
No, we usually went to Reno because there were more casinos.
Okay, yeah.
It was Tahoe. It just wasn't enough casinos then, and it was just easier to go to Reno.
Yeah.
And we had a good time back then. We always had fun there. Yeah. I like Reno, actually. It reminds me of downtown Vegas.
Yeah, right.
Now, it sounds like now it's going to Strip Vegas.
Yeah. But, that's too bad. I haven't been in so long. I can't see a time when we'd get up there.
We went up there for a hockky game. I don't know if you didn't
I wasn't
go,
with you. Yeah, I remember.
But years ago, that was the last time I was there. And we were there for the hockey game, and we stayed at Harrah's. Mm-hmm. And it was nice. I liked Reno. Yeah. Reno's a quaint little town.
Yep. Yeah. We're going to hear from Walter again. First up, though, here's Matt.
Hey, guys. This is Matt from California. Just listening to your most recent podcast, and you guys talking about people setting the dice and whatnot. I had an interesting time. I just got back from Vegas, and I'll call back for a trip report later. But I was playing craps with the D, and the way I like to shoot, I like to, I'll set them to a random number, whatever, kind of similar to you guys. But what I do like to do is for some reason, I think it's just the way my hand works, is I'll pick up the dice and then tap them once on the table, remove them from the table, tap them once, and then shoot them. And actually, one of the dealers, it was the pit boss who was there at the D, did not like me shooting like that. And, really couldn't give me a reason why. I didn't think it was a big deal. The dice never came out of the tub. And it was just, I don't know, it's a weird trick that I do. I don't intentionally even think about it. So I just wanted to share your experience, or you have some good stories about the way you shot, and if, a dealer or a pit boss or anybody has ever talked to you about that. It just seemed like a really weird thing. It didn't seem like I was doing anything that I could have manipulated the dice. So anyway, call back with this report. Thanks for the show, guys. Love it. Have a good one.
That's infuriating.
Yeah,
I mean, all he's doing is tapping the dice before he throws them.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is if they're worried about maybe the corner of the die rubbing on the felt or something.
That's crazy.
But, they change those felts regularly anyway.
Yeah, and no, I don't like this at all. And the pit boss, either he's in a bad mood or it's just some kind of power trip he's on. There's no good reason. There's no casino policy.
Right.
Oh, well, one thing they can't do is tap the dice on the felt before they throw.
That's ridiculous.
It really is.
Don't you get a feeling sometimes that some of the pit bosses are in a bad mood?
Yeah, or they're the players are their enemy.
Yeah,
that's the way they look at it.
Right, like he's our enemy. I'm going to give him a hard time. Whatever I can do to disrupt him.
Yeah,
right. Like you're having a good roll. Oh, you can't do that. Hit the back wall with both the dice.
We very rarely have been told by the pit to change the way that we're rolling. Really, the only time significantly that it's happened was at Binion's. When we were there for VIMP last year, and we keep hearing stories from all sorts of people saying that they have trouble with the Binion's pit too. It's really a shame. So they have a reputation.
There should never be a reason to tell a shooter to change the way they roll unless they're doing something that might be dangerous.
Yeah, or they're sliding the dice, something that's real obvious, right? Or they're taking way too long, that kind of thing.
Way too long. I can see a pit saying something
because they want the game to move quickly,
right? And people get annoyed. Other people get annoyed. If you're picking the dice up and throwing them in a timely fashion, I don't care what you do.
Yeah.
A lot of people circle their bet, right? They pick the dice up, they circle the bet, they throw them. People have these rituals.
I think this is going to be my new ritual. Yeah. I'm going to tap the dice now.
Just going to pick it up, tap the felt,
and then I'll see if I ever get called on it. I bet I don't, but
you should pick the dice up, tap the table, and then yell something. Just think of something that you want to yell, whatever it is. Just
keep it clean, or
whatever. I mean, just every time you could yell something.
Okay, just some word.
Some word.
I'll have my phone just come up with something random from a dictionary.
Nothing to do with the game.
Yeah.
Not like come on 9, we need a 9.
That's right.
Just something, just a random
something.
word.
Yeah, that's right. Printing press.
Yeah.
Go.
All
right. Next call.
Hi, Mark and Dr. Mike. My name is Trinish from Washington, D.C. Love your show. You guys really have a big following among my friends out here. Myself and 3 other guys, we're about 25 and been playing poker together for 7 years or so. And we recently started going to the casino regularly over the past year. We mostly stick to the basics, blackjack, roulette. We do play some slots. We like the Moon Queen over at MGM, but we mostly stay away from slots. But we think that one's good. And we're just starting to get into craps now, thanks to your show. But my question for you guys actually has to do with surveillance. At our local casino, we saw a guy snag some chips off a crowded blackjack table and then claim they were his, which led to a huge screaming match. It took about 10 minutes for surveillance to review the video and determine whose chips it actually was. And then last week, I saw a guy take back some chips from an outside bet on a roulette table and claimed they were his when someone else had actually placed the bet. And again, surveillance settled it, but not until a huge argument broke out, and it was a huge mess and an even bigger Rodion. So I was just wondering if you guys could recall the craziest or perhaps most controversial incident you've seen in which surveillance was called to settle it. Thanks.
Gosh, I can't really think of any outrageous stories that we've been a witness to.
No, we've had some where they've gone to the camera to check something.
Right.
We've had that in craps a lot of times.
Oh, yeah, because,
right?
Again, here in Southern California, the craps is card-based. And so we roll the dice at Harrah's, and then based on what comes up on the dice, that's determines what cards are turned over. There was one time where they turned the cards over and it was a 7 out and they started collecting bets. And then you said, hey, wait, they turned over the wrong cards.
Right.
And they did go to the camera and found out that you were right. And let the roll continue. So that was a case.
The pit boss called upstairs.
That worked for you.
It didn't take very long, just
That's
a minute or two, right?
Yeah.
They called, and then it turned out. So they re-rolled that roll is what they did.
The only other thing I can think of, and this is kind of funny, we have this friend Ron, and here in California, you have to pay for alcohol at the casino. You can't use comps. They cannot give it to you for free. You actually have to pay for alcohol. So we've got this friend, Ron, and he did not want to pay for alcohol. He's used to going to the casino and getting free drinks. So his idea was, he brought a flask with him, filled it up with booze and brought this flask with him. And he was just going to spike his
drinks. Yeah.
So we were all in the buffet, and he ordered like a soda, a Coke or something. And he took out his flask and poured it into the drink.
Now, mind you, this is in the buffet.
This is in the buffet, right?
Not on the gaming floor.
Yeah. So later, after we're done eating, we're at the buffet, we're looking around to get on a table, and security comes up to him and says, "You've got to get rid of that flask," right? Or, we saw what you were doing in the buffet,
the
right?
flask is in his pocket at this point. Nobody can see it, but they knew he had it.
Right, so he's starting to deny it, and then, if he starts to deny it, does he want to really mess with the
right?
So he said, "Okay, I'll go get rid of it," and went out to the car and got rid of it. But that's just kind of a funny story. I don't know if it's that controversial.
It's funny that they have surveillance in the buffet.
There's
no exchange of money going on in there or anything.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I guess cameras in the buffet. Yeah, well,
I guess they're everywhere, right?
Yeah, I guess that does make sense. But how much attention do they pay to the cameras in the buffet? How often is there an issue? Guy
to look at the buffet camera? Oh yeah, there.
I guess that maybe they
took a little too much.
They watch for people who are going into the buffet without paying. That I can understand.
Maybe.
And maybe that's.
But that'd be a camera up by the cashier. It wouldn't be in the buffet.
I don't know. Anyway,
you're watching for people loading their pockets. Did we tell the story about the guy that was loading food up that I saw?
I think we did.
Yeah.
If we didn't, I'll write that down. We'll save it for a future episode.
They that's a guy they should be watching.
Yeah, I'll go back and see if we talked about it.
The only other thing I would say about this surveillance stories, we have seen things where there's some controversy, like on a blackjack hand or something, and they go to the camera.
Yeah.
We've never seen any fights because of it.
No, and so their stories aren't that interesting. They go to the camera and it's resolved.
Right, they go to the camera and one way or the other it's resolved.
Yeah. All right, one more call from Walter.
Hey guys, Walter here again. I called in earlier about the video poker in Reno, and I forgot to mention one thing. I did play craps while I was there, and they have 3, 4, 5 odds at Circus Circus and Silver Legacy and El Dorado, since they're all owned by each other. That makes sense. And it was a $3 minimum, 3, 4, 5 odds at Circus Circus, and they had the fire bet. So I tried the fire bet. I got it to 3 once, and that was it. The staff was very courteous. The crew was very good. But I did run into one thing that I had not run into before, and that is this. On the 3, 4, 5 table, it was a $3 minimum. There was one bet. I think it was the 4 or the 10, where I tried to put $10 behind my 3. So I was $1 over the 3 times, and they absolutely would not let me do that. And it's the first time I've ever run into that. I thought it would just be done for me that way. I've done it before where it exceeds the odds by $1 amount just to make it a little more even, but they would not let me do that. So I thought that was a little unusual. Have you guys run into that before? Just curious. All right. Thanks again. Talk to you later. Bye.
Yeah. A lot of times the casino will let you bet a little bit more on odds to kind of make the payout right.
Well, always on a 5 and 9.
Oh yeah. Let's say you're at a casino where it's 5 times odds, and the point is 5 or 9. A lot of let's say you've got like $5 on the line, and a 5 comes up for your point. Well, if you put 5 times odds behind, that's $25. The odds on a 5 or 9, though, should pay 3 to 2. So that odds amount really needs to be even. They'll let you go to 30.
Right.
Or even if it's double odds, back in the old days of double odds, or if you're at win.
Right. Well, at double odds, they always let 6 and 8 go to 25.
Right. Let's say you've got $10 on the line and the point is 6 or 8. They'll let you go to 25. So they'll let you go a little bit more. But I will say this, with 3, 4, 5 times odds, I don't think I've ever seen a casino let you go a little bit more at a 3, 4, 5 times odds table.
No, because they're already offering 3, 4, 5.
Right. Now, we've never played at a $3 table, in this example where, you'd be putting $9 behind a 4 or 10.
Yeah.
But at least with 3, 4, 5 times odds, I've never actually seen the casino allow you to go a little bit more. Maybe some do.
Usually what happens if you're heavy on your odds, they'll tell you up front you're heavy on your odds.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't catch it and your point is made, they will pay you.
Yes.
But they'll pay you the correct amount, and then say you're $1 over, they'll pay you $1 for the dollar.
What they'll do basically is they'll pay any amount that's too much on the odds, they'll pay it off as if it were a place bet.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't know, 3, 4, 5 times odds at a $3 table, that's just something we've never been exposed to.
No,
so.
and I'm surprised it's 3, 4, 5 because most tables, if they're under $5, if it's a $3 or $2 table, it'll be double odds.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I guess that's one good thing about Reno.
Yeah,
you can get some cheaper craps.
I mean, that's
at 3, 4,
pretty
5
nice.
times odds. Yeah.
$3 craps. I mean, that's something my dad would love that,
Yeah,
right?
yes.
He'd be all over that.
Yep. All right, let's talk about a relatively new carnival game called Flushes Gone Wild. It's a carnival game owned by Bally's Technology, and it premiered last summer. In Vegas, it premiered at Planet Hollywood and some other casinos around the country, and they also currently play it at Venetian. Flushes Gone Wild. I think I've played Flushes Gone Wild in Las Vegas, but not this game. I think it's been more due to my dietary habits.
Flushes Gone Wild.
Yeah.
Well, I've definitely played it then.
Yeah. But anyway, here, let's talk about how it's played. So players play against the dealer. The object is to have a longer flush hand than the dealer. That is, a flush with more cards than the dealer has. The concept is similar to the game High Card Flush that we talked about on episode 35, but with some significant differences. One of the biggest differences is that deuces are wild. That's pretty interesting. I don't know of any table game where, it uses a 52 card deck and there are wild cards in there, So.
Yeah, that's the first table game with a wild card.
That we know of. There probably are more, but that's it. Yeah.
That's more a slot type game, right?
Yeah, slot or like a home game type thing.
Home game, right.
Yeah. So here's how the game works. So before the hands are dealt, players make equal wagers on the ante and blind bets. Have to be the same amount. There's also an optional side bet called the Flush Rush.
I've had that before too.
Flush Rush side bet. So we'll talk about that later. So again, equal amounts on the ante and blind bets. Then the dealer deals 5 cards to each player and to himself out of just a standard 52-card deck. And then he deals 2 community cards face down. So at the end of the game, each player's hand and the dealer's hand will be determined by combining his or her 5 down cards and the 2 community cards. So you'll have 7 cards to play with.
7-card hand.
So players look at their hands, and at this point they have 2 options. One, they can just fold, in which case they lose their ante and blind bets. Or they can stay in which case they have to make an additional bet called the play bet. And the amount of this play bet must be double their ante bet. Okay?
All right.
So if you stay in, you've got to make this additional bet. So if you started with $5 on the ante and on the blind, and you decide to play, you put out $10.
You've got 20.
So you've got 20 in action, exactly. So then the dealer reveals his 5 down cards and the 2 community cards. Players win if they have a longer flush than the dealer. Or players can also win if they have the same sized flush as the dealer, but they have a higher card. So if you and the dealer have flushes with the same number of cards.
Say we both had 2 spades. That's the biggest flush we got.
Right.
I have an ace. He has a king. I win.
Exactly. You go to, you look at the high card and that'll determine who the winner is.
Okay.
So that's how the players can win.
So what about if I had 2 spades, 2 diamonds, 2 clubs, and a heart?
Okay.
So I've got 3 2-card flushes. Whichever
one's higher. Because when you're comparing your flush to the dealer's, you don't have to have the same suit as the dealer.
So it's just
a flush.
I would just use my highest one.
Whatever your highest flush is against the dealer's highest flush.
And can it go to the second card?
Yes.
So if we both had kings, and I had a queen, I'd beat him if he had a king and a 3 or something.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep, exactly. So the only time it would be a push would be if you both have a flush with the exact same ranks of cards.
Okay.
So it'd be pretty unlikely, but it could happen. And in that case, all 3 bets that you have out there is a push.
Just a whole thing is a push.
Yep. Now, if the dealer beats you, then you lose all 3 bets. The ante, the play, and the blind, they all lose. If the player wins, the ante and the play bets pay even money.
Okay.
Just boom, even money. Okay. The blind bet will pay depending on how many more cards there are in the player's flush than in the dealer's flush.
I gotcha.
Okay.
The differential between the two.
The differential between the two, exactly. So the chart that you'll see at the table, it says 5 cards or more. If you differ from the dealer by 5 cards or more, and I don't know why they say or more, because you can't differ from them by
than
you've
5.
got 7 cards.
You had a 7-card flush. The worst he can have is a 2-card flush.
Right.
That's 5.
So I guess so people don't question it. 5 or more, it pays 200 to 1. It's pretty unlikely.
Right. Well, you have to have a 7-card.
You have to have a 7-card flush, and he has to only have a 2-card flush, right? If it's a 4-card differential, it pays 25 to 1. And again, this is just the blind bet because the ante and the play, they just pay even money. If it's a 3-card differential, 5 to 1. If it's a 2-card differential, 3 to 1. And if it's 1 or 0-card differential, it's just a push.
Oh, 1-card differential is a push.
It's still a push, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if I have a 3-card flush and he has a 2, I just push.
Yes. Right. So
there's
you can see where a lot of the edge is here. Yeah. The edge that you have is you can determine to fold before you put any more money out there.
Right. If you have a 2-card flush.
Yeah.
So where does the ante and the blind bet? What are those two, and what's the difference?
The ante and the blind are the bets that you have to make initially.
Right.
They're different. The ante will pay even money. The blind is the one that pays at odds, depending on the differential between yours and the dealer's hand.
Okay.
The play bet is the optional bet that you make after you've looked at your cards.
And what does it pay?
It pays even money. In a sense, it's like you're increasing your ante bet to 3 times its initial amount.
Okay.
But, that would be a little confusing, right? Instead, they just make it a separate bet.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So it's the blind bet that actually pays the odds.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
I was confused. Right. I thought it was the play bet that was paying the odds.
No.
So it's your smaller bet that you get
It's
odds
your smaller
on.
bet that you have to make at the beginning that gets paid at the odds, right? The
Okay.
play bet, the bet that you decide whether or not you're going to make, that only pays even money along with the ante bet if you win.
Okay.
Okay, and that's it. Now, the side bet, the flush rush side bet, it will pay if you have a 4-card natural flush or better. So the pay table...
Natural flush meaning no
meaning
deuce,
no wild cards.
No deuce.
Right.
4-card
natural flush pays even money, and then it goes all the way up to a 7-card natural flush that pays 250 to 1.
Right. 4-card flush even money.
Yes.
That's pretty hard to do too.
Yeah, it is. I mean, again, this is a side bet, and it does have a pretty big house edge.
It's a huge house edge.
Yeah. So one thing you have to don't forget: deuces are wild in this game.
That does help a little bit with the with the regular game.
Yes.
It doesn't help you in the flush rush.
Well, no, flush rush will pay different amounts depending on whether or not you are using wild card. Sorry, I should have mentioned that. So it doesn't have to be a natural.
Okay.
But
it just pays more if it's a natural.
It pays more if it's a natural,
I gotcha.
right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I'll give you a real quick basic strategy. The basic strategy, a very simple one, is play if you've got at least a 3-card flush or if you have a deuce.
Okay.
Also, play if you've got a 2-card flush that is at least king 8 or higher.
Okay.
There's more to the simple basic strategy, and I'm going to post a link to the Wizard of Odds page on this, where he talks about the simple basic strategy and an advanced basic strategy. He has all the pay tables and everything. So
all right,
that's
now
a good resource to look at.
$1 million question.
Yeah.
What's the house edge on this?
Well, it depends on, how you look at it, but yeah, the house edge, like on the side bet, is around, 8%. Yeah. And on the regular game, depending on how you define house edge, can be anywhere from 3 to 7%, something like that. Yes. One thing you really have to be careful of is reading your hand and the dealer's hand correctly. Because with all these cards out here and all these suits and deuces wild, it's easy to miss what you really have.
Sure.
Because you're looking at your 5 cards, the community cards, the deuces, the dealer's hand. So it's something that you might miss. It's like, oh gosh, I was looking at hearts and I've actually got, better at spades because of the community cards, right? Initially I'm looking at my hand and then suddenly you've got a better hand than you thought because the community cards change everything.
Right. And you see the community cards after you make your play bet.
Yes. So, yeah, that's the final thing. Right.
So you're really hoping it comes through.
Yes. So something to be aware of. You do have to kind of watch the dealer in this case and make sure that.
Now, do you see the dealer's hand before?
Nope. You don't see. You
don't see any of his cards till the very end.
You don't see anything other than your initial 5 cards when you decide to make that additional play bet, and then the game's over basically at that point.
Right.
Yep.
So Steve Wynn still owns the Venetian?
No, that's Adelson. Steve Wynn doesn't know the Venetian.
Just checking. It sounded like a Steve Wynn game.
Yeah. Like I said, it's playing at Venetian. They've got a plan at Hollywood and some other places around the country. So Flush has gone wild. All right, so that's going to do it for this episode. Hey, good luck to everyone who's attending the 360 Vegas Vacation 3. That's coming up this weekend, May 15th through May 17th. So good luck to everybody going there and have a good time in Vegas. Also, Craig and Kyle over at the Due for a Win podcast, they're going to Atlantic City on the following weekend. And it sounds like they're planning a meetup in Atlantic City on Friday, May 20th. I don't think they had finalized what they were going to do, but follow them on Twitter. They're at Due for a Win.
Where are they going, staying at?
I can't remember where they're staying. I can't remember now. But yeah, Atlantic City. Be nice to go back there sometime.
We need to go back. Yeah, I'd like to do that.
Yeah. Hey, we want to thank some people for some PayPal donations. First of all, Will, thank you very much. We heard from him on the last episode. Also, Amy, she said she was taking her mom to her happy place for Mother's Day, River City Casino in St. Louis.
St. Louis. There you go. I knew you were going to do that.
So thanks again, Amy. And also from Christopher, he sent us a PayPal donation and said, love your show. I think you should do it daily.
Wow.
Daily. Oh, my gosh.
If Christopher owns a radio station, let's talk. I'd love to. Wouldn't you love to just every day just talk for 2 hours about
I guess we'd start repeating ourselves so much. So that's the thing I'm afraid of.
We'd have to gamble more.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, we could quit our jobs, just gamble more, and then come in and tell stories.
It wouldn't be recreational.
It's not going too well.
Yeah, just every day.
Hey, be sure to check out our TV listings showing all the gambling-related shows coming up within the next 2 weeks. We update those listings every Wednesday using a customized program to search through all the raw American TV data. Just go to our webpage, youcanbetonthat.com, and click on the link at the top that says TV listings. We'd love to hear from you. Call our voicemail hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 951-2-WAGERS. Or you can email us at youcanbetonThat@gmail.com. Also, follow us on Twitter at YouCanBetOnThat. We tweet when we're heading to a casino, and we'd love to meet up with you. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/YouCanBetOnThat. And finally, head on over to iTunes and write a review on us. When you do, it helps us get new listeners. What do you got for us, Dr. Mike?
Well, it's a good question. I don't know.
You weren't ready, were you? You weren't ready.
I wasn't ready. I haven't really thought about that this week. I don't know why, because usually all week I'm thinking, what are we going to talk about? But I've been busy.
Here, I'll tell you one thing, and I told you this when I went out to Verona to make these bets.
Oh, yeah.
I stopped by the craps table, and I noticed that they had the fire bet and the sharpshooter bet.
Right, you told me that. Now, that's exciting.
Yeah, now the sharpshooter bet is like the fire bet, except the points don't have to be unique. And it pays when a shooter has made 3 or more points.
That's great, because how many times have we not won the fire bet? Mm-hmm. Well, just 2 weeks ago when that guy made like 14 points.
He made at least 10. You say 14. I think that's high, but he made at least 10.
I know it. Yeah. Well, it's definitely 10. It might have been 12.
Yeah,
I think it was
an incredible roll. The sharpshooter, and he rolled all those, but he only rolled 3 unique points, right?
Right.
6, 8, 9, and that was it.
He rolled a ton of 8s.
Yeah, that's right.
He rolled 2 6s and 1 9, and all the rest were 8s.
That's right, yes. So the sharpshooter bet would have paid the max amount. I think 10 is the max that it pays on that.
Okay, so that would have been a great
So we're going to have to go out to Verona and check that out. We can
Plus
make both
they have
bets.
5 times odds.
5 times odds, right?
It's just that we don't get any...
The comps are bad.
The comps are terrible.
Yeah.
We don't get anything for going there.
Yes.
And there's no guarantee we're going to win.
Never is, yeah.
Yeah, so if we knew for certain that we were going to win, we'd be there every week. Forget about the comps.
Yeah.
But if we're going to lose, it's nice to get some comp money back.
Anyway, we'll have to check that out because we've never played at a table that has the sharpshooter bet. So.
No, and we probably should go just for that reason.
Yep.
So good. Now I've got something to think about tomorrow all day.
Okay, good.
Maybe it'll work.
All right. Okay, thanks for listening.
Good night.